It's 10 minutes after 7, an interview I've been looking forward to the whole morning. BP, the fuel company, is now adding fuel, if you will, to the fire of South Africa's already problematic issues with alcohol and alcohol in driving. According to the Southern African Alcohol Policy Alliance, it's saying no to booze on the go. Yes, you heard me right. BP is planning to apply for licenses to sell alcohol in their forecourt shops. It's really just a fancy way of saying it's the shop where you and I go buy a pie and a packet of cigarettes. That's where you can now, if they get their way, go and buy some wine while you get yourself an energy bar at the same time. Maurice Smithers, you are the director from the South African Alcohol Policy Alliance. Good morning to you. In the world of bad ideas, this must be pretty high on the list of very, very bad ideas.
Well, for us, certainly it is. Thanks, by the way, for having us on the air. It is a bad idea as far as we're concerned, and not just us, by the way. About 65 countries in the world have already banned petrol stations having liquor licenses, and the World Health Organization has recommended that it shouldn't happen. And our cabinet has agreed, because in the liquor policy of 2016, it's recommended that these licenses shouldn't be allowed, and the Liquor Amendment Bill of 2016, which has not yet been passed, unfortunately, but that expressly forbids it.
I'm just curious as to how an organization like BP, and I'm not asking you to speak on behalf of BP, Mr. Smithers, I'm just wondering how a company like BP and their moral compass, knowing how bad our drinking is in this country, knowing how bad our driving is in this country, and then you want to combine drinking and driving. It beggars belief that this was even put through at a boardroom level.
Well, look, you have to understand that it's part of a global strategy. We've come across quite a lot of cases in Britain in particular, but other parts of the world where BP has done a similar thing in the face, by the way, of resistance from the community in which they were trying to get these licenses. And it's part of another global strategy to make these forecourt shops into a kind of one-stop destination for a whole range of services. And that's actually how BP framed, in many ways, their position when they responded to our initial query about the issue.
Yeah,
so
from a commercial perspective, it certainly does make sense. They want to try and get everyone to come to their garage, fill up their car, and essentially do your shopping. I mean, I'm pretty sure at some point we're going to be able to get our laundry done at one of these shops as well. But alcohol, particularly in this country, is a huge problem. How are we and how are you going to try and fight this if BP tries to go in with the big guns?
Well, look, first of all, I think, not that I'm trying to defend BP, but it's not just them. Sasol has already applied for a similar license in Rosebank, and we have no doubt that all the other petrol companies will follow suit, particularly if BP is successful. You will know that they have already got one license, which is in Radiocorp, which is in the Roodepoort part of Johannesburg. Yes, we do have a problem in South Africa with drink driving. It's higher than most countries in the world, and certainly higher than the global average. And it is also said that around 58% of traffic-related deaths are alcohol-related. So there's no doubt that it's not a good idea. And in many ways, it's captured for us by a statement made by a security guard when we were at our protest at BP on Wednesday. BP themselves are working virtually from their homes. So there was no one to receive our memorandum. So they arranged for the security guards to do so. And the one security guard said to me, I fully support what you're doing, because if I get into a taxi or a bus on a long trip and the driver pulls into a petrol station to buy petrol, I want to know that he cannot go into the shop at the petrol station and buy liquor. And for me, that captured the dilemma, I think, that we face right now very aptly. So we've approached all the different provinces. One of the challenges we have is that there's the issue of that national legislation I mentioned, which is not yet passed. So provinces can make their own decisions at the moment around this issue. What we've discovered is that KwaZulu-Natal, in fact, already have a law that says you cannot have petrol station liquor licenses. They sent us a very robust letter in which they said, absolutely, they think it's a totally bad idea, and therefore they will not allow it to happen there. A couple of other provinces have also indicated that they're concerned about it. And we've had a very good meeting with the Gauteng government, who are willing to discuss with us further. So we're hoping that through government we will be able to make some progress, but we're going to continue to put pressure on BP nationally and internationally, because we have colleagues around the world. And as you know, BP is an international company, so we'll put pressure on them as much as we can. I think we can win this one, and we want to win it soon.
We do. And I mean, I suppose one could argue as well that, the liquor industry took a massive knock during lockdown, but this really isn't the way to try and get the alcohol economy going again. It's so interesting, Maurice, as you mentioned that garage out towards Roodepoort. I live out towards that side, and I actually went in to go buy a packet of smokes the other day, and next to the till was actually an area where they were selling wine. And I actually thought that was a bit odd.
Yeah.
But I think I know exactly the garage that you're talking about. So can we then now at least just acknowledge, and I'm sure you would acknowledge, tell me if you agree, the problem for BP, it's not just the idea of selling alcohol at garages. If we weren't a country that had a problem with drinking, with irresponsible alcoholism, alcohol dependency in this country, it probably wouldn't be the worst idea. But we, as a nation, seem to not be able to control ourselves with alcohol. Is that an unfair statement? Do you agree or not?
No, we wouldn't agree with that. I mean, you must remember, we're working very much in line, and as the South African government was when they drafted this new liquor policy in 2016 and the Liquor Amendment Bill, that we are working within the guidelines of the World Health Organization. And they pretty much say it's a really bad idea, not just for South Africa, but for everywhere in the world. Because even if the drink driving levels are less in some countries, the risks are still too high in most countries. And there's really no need for this association of alcohol with driving. There are plenty, certainly in South Africa anyway, there are plenty of liquor outlets around. In the communities in which the petrol stations are located. So it really doesn't make a great deal of sense to now add this to the mix. So no, we would disagree, because we think that, I mean, the issue of that license you were talking, the petrol station that you went to, I went there too, and I saw exactly what you're saying. And one of the challenges when kids go into a shop like that, they go and they look for sweets, they look for chips or cool drinks, whatever it is, and then they see wine. So wine then becomes normalized in their lives. It becomes something that they see as a natural progression for themselves. The other challenge we have, by the way, is that on the day that I went there, I went with a young woman who is just over 18, and I said to her, go buy a bottle of wine. They didn't ask her for her ID, and she could well have been somebody under the age. So that was another challenge that we came across. So generally speaking, no, we think it's a bad idea, and we would like BP to gracefully withdraw now rather than later, because we know that they've already got 3 more applications in Gauteng and 2 in the Western Cape. And if by the time government passes the Liquor Amendment Bill, banning the petrol station liquor licenses, what then is BP going to do about those stations that have got them? There should at least be a moratorium for now on any new licenses, both being applied for and being awarded, until such time as there's clarification on the issue.
Maurice, it's such a pleasure to speak to you, and all the best with the campaign as well. The optics of this doesn't work, the messaging of this doesn't work, the management of this doesn't work. It's just never a good idea to combine alcohol and driving in this country at the best of times. And now you want to start selling alcohol at restaurants, at garages. It's just, it really does. It beggars belief. But I appreciate your time in speaking to us. Maurice Smithers here on ENCA for us this morning from the South African Alcohol Policy Alliance. Love to hear